Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, brothers and sisters. Welcome to another episode of Islam for Europeans. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I do apologize that I have not made a video in quite some time, but I wanted to speak more on the concrete steps of creating convert organizations in varying cities in the West, and pitfalls to avoid, and things that will definitely help, not just the converts themselves, but the structure of the organization, and the sustainability of such an organization, right? So uh, you know one thing that you kind of need to have when you're creating an organization for converts, first and foremost, is that the converts themselves, especially ones who have been Muslim for a very, very long time, should be running these organizations. For several reasons. One is that they understand the psychology of what it's like being a convert and having to go through the experience of dealing with family, dealing with friends, and also dealing with the Muslim community itself. And um, you know, what are the positives and negatives and potential pitfalls one has to avoid in all of those situations. Now, that doesn't occur overnight. And, I think for those who've been Muslim for a very long time, they're starting to realize that you have a new batch of converts coming in, and, they're very naive, they're very well meaning, and, they need direction. And the leadership, when it comes to these converse organizations, from the top down, has to be comprised of converts, because we understand their situation. So I think that's definitely one thing. However, at the same time, you do need a dedicated board Muslim, who also understands the experience of converts. Maybe their mother was a convert, or maybe they've spent years dealing with converts, someone with a lot of experience. You need this kind of person to act as a liaison between the converts themselves and Islamic leadership in the mosque, right? So and this person kind of needs to oversee the whole dynamic that exists between the two. And because a lot of and preferably this person should be fluent in both English and the language of the heritage language of the worshipers at that mosque, whether that's Arabic or Urdu, because you're going to have a lot of Muslims asking questions about you know the convert organization, or how this convert is doing, um, and many of them are older, so this person needs to be able to communicate the goals and aims of such a convert organization, and also to show that even though we have an organization for converts, we're still maintaining good relations with the rest of the Muslim community, right? So you definitely need a board Muslim liaison, who acts in this kind of role. Also, when it comes to funding, because a lot of these convert organizations, they're going to need some type of funding. Now, the type of funding, I think it should be used sparingly. Like when it comes to even things like dinners, like many of these dinners, they could be funded, but also, we should also have an opportunity for potlucks, or anything that can, sort of, um, make the convert organization a leaner model, where you don't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on running a convert organization. But definitely, if the funding is going to come from the mosque, you need a liaison such as this to be able to approve, to fast track, uh, you know, uh, any of the events or programs that your convert organization is going to want to put out, right? So it could be something as simple as installing a dartboard in the basement of a mosque. Now, if you don't have such an organization, and everything's going to have to go through the board, right? And the mosque board or the imam, they may take days, weeks, months to get something like this approved. And when you have to, when you're scheduling these events, where you don't have a lot of time, to advertise and get everything ready, you know, when things are backed up for that long, and there's such a long process and getting these things completed, it can just destroy an organization. It can just kibosh it. And you can't have that happening. You need someone who's a liaison to be able to fast track approval, for the things that you want to accomplish. Right. So that's definitely another thing. Uh, what does the another good question is, what are you doing? What type of events are you having? What kind of resources are you providing? Right. So that, like when it comes to religious instruction, you want a collaborative environment. And for the most part, these converts are coming in with absolutely no experience, and they're basically preschoolers. Um, so I think a Quran 101 class and an Islam 101 class, like how to pray, what are the rules of fasting during Ramadan, those should be very simple. And you need an educated convert teaching these classes. And preferably also with a sheikh or an imam who has a lot of knowledge. Many of these sheikhs, they're living in the community, but they don't have any type of like leadership imam style role, but they're still very well educated. So those two people working side by side can A, create a program that's easy to understand, teaching the very basics, and B, making sure that you're not making any mistakes in that type of religious environment. Um, and also with these classes, it requires feedback and more of a collaborative environment with your students, because you may be going too fast for them, or you may be going too slow, or some things also might need clarification. What does this Arabic word mean? Um, like you want to make them feel that they're involved, right? So that's definitely one thing. But I don't think religious instruction should be the be all and end all. Because many of these converts are dealing with really tricky situations in their cultural sphere when they leave the mosque. They have to deal with family, they have to deal with work, they have to deal with their spouses, they have to deal with their kids, they have to deal with their parents. Um, those are very tricky things to be able to navigate, right? So I think one thing that a convert organization should provide is the opportunity to dialogue, with those non-Muslim family members. And this obviously would have to occur with the consent of the convert themselves and the people that we're going to be talking to. And I think by and large, many of these conversations are not going to occur at a mosque. Many non-Muslims are very reluctant to go to a mosque because it's not their territory. So it may be at a restaurant, it may be at a Tim Hortons, it may be a phone conversation, right? So, and those are very, I guess, delicate subjects. Sometimes you're going to talk to people who already have a positive image about Islam, but they want to know how they can support their son or their daughter. Or it may be someone who couldn't care either way, or someone who maybe have very negative attitudes. You're going to have to, and if them talking to a convert from their same culture, there's a lot more more of a simpatico understanding them. They understand the slang, they understand the lingo. There's just far few barriers, because this person is like someone that they know in their own communities, right? And it may not be anything. You may be in a situation where you're befriending the convert's non-Muslim family or friend, and you can't say anything about Islam or religion in general. Just the fact that you're there and you're being there shows that they have someone in their community, in the mosque environment that has a good head on their shoulders, so that they know that their son or their daughter is in good hands, really. um, and I don't think mosques are really designed, for that type of work, because, you know, um, many of these converts, their survival as being a Muslim depends upon maintaining a good relationship with their non-Muslim family and friends. And you're not going to get that with religious instruction. Yes, you can understand the hadith, the sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. A good study of the Sirah will show you, how the Sahaba, may Allah be pleased with them, dealt with their non-Muslim pagan family and friends. So you would see similar situations like that. But I think overall, it's all about creating an environment within the convert's own social sphere that has more support for them, right? And like even if it's their allies, who are coming to us at this convert organization, like establishing good dialogue with them is really vital, because they're also going to have the tools in that environment. And really the whole idea of this is creating a sub community where the converts gel, and they have like a good thriving community like all other Muslim sub communities currently existing in the West. Like if you look at the Palestinian Canadian community, or the Pakistani Canadian community, or the Syrian Muslim community, they have you know various organizations that are well funded by NGO, by donations, by the federal government, and these organizations are vital for people to survive in their daily life. And if you have just an organization that is just completely focused on being in a mosque, it's definitely necessary, but it's not sufficient. And I think that's definitely what is lacking, is like this sense of solidarity between converts, because at the end of the day, a mosque is not going to stop your abusive father from trying to abuse you. Mosque is not going to be there for you when they kick you out of the house. Um, so, and that brings me to the next subject, is that having a safe house. you know, uh, Preferably one for brothers and one for sisters. At least someplace where you can hole up if it gets to the point where the situation is too bad, with the converts family members, and they need a place to stay. So you're going to run into situations like that. And but again, you don't want them staying there forever. I mean, what the cost to be minimized here. So a lot of it is, like I said, getting to a point where the converts, family and friends, um, you know, improving the relationship with them, so at least to a point they can stay with them until they can move out on their own and stand up on their own 2 feet, right? And it may not just be family. It may not just be their mom and dad. It could be an abusive spouse, right? What does the convert do then? Is the mosque going to take care of that? So like all these other really big issues that like require much more resources. Like if you look at organizations just in Canada alone, like I said before, there are more than 16 Palestinian Canadian organizations just in Canada, and they've all collaborated with one another, right? So that allows them to function as a community. Like someone comes to Canada and doesn't know what to do. These organizations exist in order to support and take care of their needs, right? Um, and that brings me to my next point, and that is that as you're building this kind of convert organization or support group in your local mosque, um, an even better idea is, while you're having more events and you're advertising for them and more converts are coming, dinners, social events, Quran 101 classes, Islam 101 classes. Um, I think once the converts have established that and have, created this subgroup in their own support group, expand into other markets. Like look at, if you look at cities that are adjacent to yours, there's going to be other mosques there, and whether or not they have like a existing convert community, there's going to be people taking their shahada there. And if you can set up the same type of system or the same type of support group in those cities, you can string them all together and create this kind of like network where, you have convert groups in different cities that are still communicating with one another. And with today's technology, you can have even just like a WhatsApp group where you can post all the events going on within your regional area. Because you get some converts who are willing to drive 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours to meet other converts. It's that. they're that willing, because they're just starving to meet people who are going through and have been in the same experiences, right? So I definitely think that that is a wonderful idea. If you look at organizations such as the Canadian Legion, or the Moose Lodge, they have a similar type of setup. So they have, an umbrella organization, but they have different chapters all throughout, take for example the Moose Lodge, different chapters all throughout the United States, right? So if you're a Moose Lodge member, and you live in your city, you go to the Moose Lodge, you have your card, which shows that you're a member, and you have this sense of brotherhood or sisterhood when you go there, because you have people who were in the same organization. And let's say you move to another city, you have that already set up. There's already an existent brick and mortar place. You have your card, and you get to meet new people who are there, right? So, in today's world, it's very common for people to go to other cities for school, for work. People aren't going to stay in the same place at the same time, right? Throughout the rest of their lives. And the same goes for converts as well. So, and a lot of these converts, if they're coming from small towns, a lot of them move to the big cities, and it's a sacrifice, because they're leaving their friends and family, and they're coming to a place where, like there's more Muslims, where they feel that, they feel more of a connection to Islam, but they've kind of lost their own community at the same time. But with this model, you can have chapters in large metropolitan areas. You can have chapters in small towns, where there, maybe a small mosque or musalla there, maybe even no mosque. And you can have, chapters even like, in tiny villages. Um, and all throughout the early 20th century, religious organizations, um, non-religious organizations in Canada functioned in the exact same way. They had chapters all throughout the country, so that wherever people went, that support system was already in place, right? So, and I think it's a great model, and I think this is something that is actually sustainable, where like converts are going to start growing their numbers, and you're going to find that they're going to get a foothold and establish Islam in their own communities. And I think that's extremely important, because it all their survival and their thriving as converts is going to depend upon having an Islamic environment within their own cultural sphere, right? Um, yeah, so those are some just general pointers when it comes to Islamic, creating convert organization. Um, like definitely, we want to make sure that you're not doing anything haram, because there's going to be detractors. There are going to be people who are going to be completely opposed to this idea, and they're going to make all sorts of accusations. And if you uh, and one of the accusations they're going to make is that you're not following the Sunnah, like this is bid'ah. They're going to say that you're doing things that are haram. So it's important that you're doing everything halal. Um, that you're not doing anything haram. First and foremost, because you don't want to displeasure Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. And then secondly, whatever thing that you do that comes off as incorrect, or is bad optics, your detractors are going to use that against you, and try to quash or spread rumors and lies about your organization. So you have to take the high road, and you have to understand that not everyone is going to see the way things are, see the things the way we see it, because of our years of experience as converts. But you have to also take the high road. Like I'm sure there are other mosques that are trying different things, and they think that their way is the only way, right? And we want to take the high road and say, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for what you're doing. Like you might get some convert superstar who is able to learn Arabic in a couple of months and do their ijaza, and become a highly successful convert. Um, but we all know that that's not the norm. The most converts are just struggling to get by, and they're I think what the traditional model of trying to help out converts is it's too advanced, and it doesn't take into account the fact that when the like course at the mosque ends, they're going to go home to their non-Muslim family and completely non-Muslim environment, and the Muslim community is going to go home to their Muslim environment and within their own particular culture, right? So like we know that the courses or that trying to acclimate new converts simply solely by religious instruction is necessary, but it's not sufficient, and you're going to need things in place to help these converts a survive and b feel comfortable in their own skin, right? So that's all the time I have for today. Please leave in the chat if you have any comments or suggestions. Other things is business cards are also a great idea. Or anything, anything that like way regular organizations function. They have meetings, they have posters, they have a mission statement. So just look, we're going to need to try to collaborate as much as humanly possible, and then have a structure set in place and expand out into other markets, going from city to city, town to town. That way we can collaborate and help these converts out with with the problems that they're going to be facing. So that's all my time for the day. My name is Robert. Please like and subscribe to Islam for Europeans, and that's it. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.